Imagine waking up in a desert. No bottle, no map, no sign. Just sand, silence, and a sun that wants you dead by noon. This isn't a survival show. This was every single day for the first 200,000 years of human existence. And somehow, we didn't just survive it, we mastered it. Long before maps, long before compasses, long before anyone wrote down a single direction. Ancient humans found water in places that look, to us, completely empty. And the methods they used were so precise, so strange, that some of them still baffle scientists today. By the end of this video, you'll never look at an empty landscape the same way again. Because it was never empty. It was full of messages. You just had to know how to read them. Here's the first thing you need to understand. Ancient humans didn't look for water. They looked for life. Because water leaves fingerprints. Green patches in a dead landscape. Insects swarming at strange hours. Birds flying in straight lines at dawn. To us, that's scenery. To them, that was a map. Certain birds, like sand grouse, fly to water sources every single morning in an almost dead straight line, sometimes for over 30 miles. Ancient trackers knew this, so they didn't wait to get thirsty. They watched the sky, and they followed it. But birds were just the beginning. There was something even stranger they were watching for, something in the ground itself. Termite mounds. In parts of Africa, some termite mounds are built directly above underground water tables. The termites need moisture to survive, so they dig down, sometimes over 100 feet, to reach it. Ancient humans figured this out. A mound like that wasn't just dirt, it was a drill. One that had already done the hardest part of the work. All that was left was to dig where the termites dug. This wasn't guesswork. This was pattern recognition passed down for thousands of generations. Knowledge so specific, it could mean the difference between a tribe surviving a drought or vanishing entirely. But there's a darker side to this story, because not every sign was reliable, and some water came at a terrible cost. Some ancient watering holes weren't just a lifeline, they were a trap. Predators knew exactly where water was too, which meant the most reliable water source was also the most dangerous place on Earth. Lions, crocodiles, other tribes, all converging on the same spot for the same reason. Some anthropologists believe this created one of the first unspoken rules of early human society, a truce. At the waterhole, no one fights, because everyone needs it to survive. It's eerie to think about. Some of the very first rules of human cooperation may have been written not in language, but in thirst. But water didn't only hide in the ground or the sky. Sometimes it hid inside living things. In the driest parts of the world, some ancient peoples learned to get water without ever finding a spring at all. They found it inside plants. Certain roots and tubers store water like a canteen buried underground. Some desert peoples in southern Africa still use this method today, a technique passed down, almost unchanged, for tens of thousands of years. And it's not just plants. In some regions, ancient humans learned to milk moisture from morning dew, using grass, cloth, or even their own hair, wiped along leaves at dawn before the sun burned it away. A few tablespoons at a time. Enough to survive one more day. Enough to make it to the next sign. The next clue. The next hidden thread in a landscape that seemed, to any outsider, completely dead. But knowledge like this raises an unsettling question. How do you pass down something this precise without writing? There were no maps, no books. So this knowledge had to live somewhere else. It lived in stories, songlines. Oral maps encoded into songs, chants, and rituals are still used by Aboriginal Australians today. A song isn't just music, it's a route. Certain verses correspond to certain landmarks, a rock, a bend in a dry riverbed, a tree shaped a certain way. Sing the song in order. And you're following a map thousands of years old. Get the order wrong, and you could walk straight past your only water source for hundreds of miles without ever knowing it was there. Imagine that. An entire survival system hidden inside music. A map you could lose simply by forgetting the words. Now here's where it gets stranger. Some ancient trackers didn't just look for water. They could smell it. Rain on dry earth. The phenomenon we now call petrichor travels for miles on desert wind. Trained trackers could detect a coming storm or a distant wet riverbed long before any visual sign appeared. Some accounts describe trackers changing direction suddenly, with no visible reason, only for the group to reach water hours later, exactly where the tracker had pointed. To an outsider, it looked like magic. It wasn't magic. It was tens of thousands of years of accumulated sensory knowledge. A skill so refined, it functioned like a sixth sense. But even the best trackers sometimes got it wrong, and when they did, the consequences were unforgiving. Archaeologists have found ancient campsites, abandoned suddenly, tools left behind, clustered around what should have been reliable water sources. Except the water wasn't there. Climates shifted. Rivers moved. Springs dried up without warning. And when that happened, entire groups had to gamble everything on memory, songs, and signs, in a landscape that no longer matched the map in their minds. Some didn't make it. This is the part of the story we don't like to talk about. For every successful crossing, there were others. Bones found alone, far from any known water source. Silent evidence of a bet that didn't pay off. It's a reminder. This knowledge wasn't trivia. It was survival, balanced on a blade's edge. And yet, despite the odds, this knowledge worked well enough, for long enough, that humans spread across nearly every environment on Earth. Deserts, ice sheets, islands separated by open ocean, all without a single map, all using nothing but sky, insects, plants, mounds, songs, and scent. It's easy to think of our ancestors as primitive, but this was a form of intelligence so complete, it's almost invisible to us now, because we replaced it with pipes, with apps, with a tap you barely think about. We didn't get smarter than them. We just outsourced what they knew. Remember this. Somewhere, a long time ago, someone was reading a bird's flight path across a dying sky, betting their life on where it was going. Someone was following a song, word for word, praying they remembered the verse. Someone knelt beside a termite mound and started digging. They had no maps, but they read the world like one. And that's the takeaway. Water was never hidden. It was written into birds, insects, plants, and songs for anyone who knew how to read it. We just forgot how.